Hey there, it's Tara, your yoga bestie, and I'm here to take you through a fantastic flow. In our flow, we're going to be covering some poses that involve the third chakra or the solar plexus or the core. So in my classes, I like to provide an affirmation whenever we do that. And our affirmation for this practice is, I empower myself and inspire others. So you might think of that as inhaling the words, I empower myself, and then exhaling and inspire others. And I'll remind you throughout the practice, but just find a comfortable position to kind of check in with your breath. So it might be a seated position, might be reclined, might be child's pose. Oh, and this is Lionel. He'll probably be making some cameos throughout the practice just to make sure that we're all nice and comfortable. But find your spine, just kind of settle in, maybe close your eyes as we start to tap into our Ujjayi breath. So inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Taking this time to connect with our breath. It'll be our energy source throughout our practice. So as we inhale, feeling the space right below the navel start to lift. As it draws upward, we're going to feel an expansion through the belly, the side bodies, the rib cage, and that breath draws all the way up to where it lifts the collarbones. On our exhalation, we're going to feel our belly button draw in towards the spine, which will allow us to use all three parts of the lungs. And our Ujjayi breath is an audible breath, so you're going to hear a snoring sound in the back of the throat, kind of like you're fogging up a mirror with your nose. And this is a great time just to check in with the breath, which allows us to be present throughout our practice and just let go of any thoughts or worries from the day so that you can spend this next 60 minutes or so just on yourself. And we'll take another big breath in here. Exhale, let that go. Let's find some organic movement, whatever feels nice. So if you're in a seated position, you might come into some little movements with the spine or move the head around. If you're on your back, you might come into a happy baby pose or bring your hands onto your knees and make little circles. Whatever is speaking to you in this moment. And then either from a reclined space or from a seated upright position, we'll all bring our hands together at our heart center, our Anjali Mudra, tucking our chin under as we set our intention for our practice today. And maybe that intention is, I empower myself and inspire others. Just take one more deep breath in here. Exhale, let it go. Nice, and then when you're ready, we'll start to open up the eyes, and we're gonna meet in a tabletop position. So we'll come onto our hands and knees, really spreading through the fingers nice and wide, working our weight forward towards the base of the fingers so we're not sitting back into the heel of the hand near the wrist. And just find some movements that feel good here. So maybe it's some cat-cow movements, maybe it's some lateral movements, like you're making the letter C or U with the body. Maybe you're just kind of sitting back in your child's pose and then bringing one knee out to the side and then the other knee out to the side, just kind of feeling that opening along the side bodies, which is nice. Eventually, we're going to meet in our child's pose with all 10 toes tucked under. So we're going to get a nice little stretch in the feet. We might find a wiggle from side to side, just kind of noticing how that feels in the body. And feel free to take some time here, or maybe you prefer to come into your down dog from this space. So with those toes tucked under, you can just lift up the hips, maybe keeping a bend in the knees. Maybe you move those hips from side to side here, just kind of checking it out. Eventually start to maybe bicycle the legs or finding any warm-up that feels good to you in your practice first thing. Nice work. And then from here, let's inhale, shifting forward into our plank or push-up position, nice and strong. Gazing at the space in front of our mat. Bringing that weight forward so you feel that shift in the abdominals. We'll take a full breath in. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering onto our bellies for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, we're all the way down, tops of the feet coming to the mat, hands are underneath the shoulders as we inhale, lifting up Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana, and exhale, we'll lower. We're going to move through a few of these on our own, so find your breath pace. Maybe change something up. I like to come onto my fingertips in a wide stance and then kind of do some shoulder dips, working one shoulder down and then the other shoulder down. Really nice. Next time that the forehead lowers, go ahead and make your way back into your down dog, placing those hands underneath the shoulders, lifting up those hips nice and high, maybe finding some more movement right here. Big breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then go ahead and lift up the right leg. We're going to open up that hip, heel to behind, knee up towards the ceiling as we work that left heel down. We can stay or maybe start to make some circles going in one direction, going in the other direction. Nice, and then we'll inhale, straightening that leg, squaring the hips so all 5 toes face down. And let's shift it forward. We're coming into a one-legged plank pose. And you might stay right here. Maybe you come onto your left fingertips. Maybe you challenge the balance by bringing that left arm forward, coming into a spinal balance from that plank pose, which can make it feel like it all of a sudden got windy where you are, because you might find a little bit of movement or shaking. Don't worry, that's just your ego leaving the body. And then we'll plant that hand down if we lifted it. Bend your right leg, move into wild thing. So find your back bend coming out of the ball of that foot as you lift up the hips. Gaze could be towards the fingertips. You might find some movement in this first one, bending and straightening the legs, making some circles with the arm. And next inhale, we lift it up. We gaze towards those fingertips. Exhale, gaze towards the top of your mat. Take a big step forward with that right foot. We're coming into a runner's lunge. And I like to have 2 blocks. So if you have that accessible, great. If you like it, if you don't need it, no worries. But we're just going to start to shift forward and back from a runner's lunge where we think about drawing the shoulders back, gaze and chest lift. Exhale, coming into a pyramid-like pose. So just start to move forward and back at the pace of your breath. Feel free to linger anywhere or take a detour. I like to bring that back knee down, sometimes breathing into that hip flexor. Yeah, the next time that we shift it forward, go ahead and lower that back knee down right above the kneecap. And we're going to reach the arms up overhead, coming into Salamba Anjaneyaya, so our supported crescent pose. Work those shoulders down as you lift up through the chest. Big breath in. And then as we exhale, place your hand onto your right thigh. Really press down on that thigh so you can find a little bit more length in this back bend as you gaze upward. On our exhale, we're moving into a twist. So we'll take that left elbow to the outside of our right knee. Hands can come to heart center as we work those shoulders down, maybe gazing past that right shoulder. Big breath in. As we exhale, work those hands to where they frame the foot. Maybe you have those blocks. And we'll come into a half split, so we'll straighten through that leg or we'll make it straightish. Nice length through the crown of the head. Exhale, forward fold, and feel free to have as big of a bend in your knee as you like. The closer your chest and thigh are towards one another, the more supported you feel in the lower back. Big breath in. Exhale. And then go ahead and shift it forward. Find that runner's lunge, picking up the back knee. We'll plant the palms, really push the floor away so you don't scrape the mat with the foot, finding your plank or push-up position. From here, we'll exhale, lowering either all the way down, or maybe you hover this time, chaturanga. Inhaling into your cobra, or maybe up dog if you're ready. Exhaling into your down dog, lifting up those hips nice and high. And take a full breath in. Exhale, let it go. We'll move to the second side. So left leg lifts this time, opening up that hip, heel to behind, knee up towards the ceiling. We can stay here. We can start to make some circles going in one direction, going in the other direction. Nice, and then we'll straighten that leg, squaring the hips, shift it forward to that one-legged plank pose. And again, opportunity to maybe come onto those right fingertips, maybe reach that arm forward, even if it's wobbly, it's okay. That's how we learn, that's how we grow in our practice. And then as we exhale, lower that hand down if it's lifted. Bend the left leg, wild thing. So move into that back bend. Maybe you find some movement here on this side. Maybe you run into your curtains. Inhale, we'll lift it up. Exhale, gaze to the top of the mat. Big step forward with that left foot. Coming into our runner's lunge. So again, maybe having those blocks available. And we'll start to shift forward and back on this side. Noticing what this side might need something completely different than the other side. Maybe you find that you need to hang out somewhere a little bit longer. Maybe breathe into that hip flexor. Next time we shift it forward, we'll lower that back knee down right above the kneecap. Arms will reach up overhead. Salamba Anjane, our supported crescent. Drawing those shoulders down as you lift up through the chest. From here, we'll plant that hand onto our thigh. Really press down so you can find that length along the right side body. Inhaling. Exhale, we'll move into our twist. So take that elbow to the outside of the left knee. Hands can come to heart center. Maybe you start to gaze past that left shoulder. Big breath in. Exhale, we'll release that down. Maybe we have our blocks or maybe the hands are onto the floor as we come into our half splits, Ardha Uttanasana. Letting your head relax, maybe having a soft bend in that knee. Inhale. Exhale. We'll shift it forward from here, making our way into our runner's lunge so that back knee lifts. Planting the palms, really pushing the floor away as we move into that plank or push-up position, so strong. Option to move through that vinyasa however you like, or you can always skip a vinyasa and go right to down dog if that feels better in your practice and in your body today. Once you find your down dog, take a big breath in. Exhale. And then bending those knees, we'll gaze forward as we make our way to the top of the mat. So you could always walk it forward. You can float it forward. You can make your way forward and brush off some of the pieces of your mat. I think it might be time for a new mat. And we'll make it to where our feet are at least hip distance apart, or two fists in between the feet. And find a forward fold you like. So maybe you're reaching for opposite elbows. You might bring the arms behind the back, interlacing the fingers. You might shake the head out as if you're saying yes and no, or sway from side to side. Noticing what your breath is doing as you come into this upside down space here. One more breath in here. Exhale, we'll release our hands down. Start to toe heel the feet in towards one another. Soft bend in the knees as we roll all the way up to standing. Soon as our head lifts, draw those shoulders up, back and down, really breathing into the chest, into the side bodies, feeling that expansion through the side bodies. Inhaling. Exhaling. On our inhale, arms reach up overhead, gaze is up. Exhale, forward fold. So you can swan dive or bring the hands through heart center. Inhale, we'll lengthen halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. And then plant the palms, keep your gaze forward as you step or float back. Either moving through your vinyasa or going right from plank pose to down dog, so yogi's choice. Just moving through a few sun A's to warm ourselves up. Take a big breath in here. Exhale, softening the knees. We gaze forward as we step or float to the top. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Let's reverse swan dive all the way up, reaching up and back. Exhale, we'll come right back forward. Inhale, we lengthen. Hands plant as we either step or float back. Lowering or hovering. Inhaling into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling into your down dog. Big breath in. Exhale, softening those knees. We gaze forward as we step or float to the top. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Let's reverse swan dive all the way up, reaching up and back. Exhale into our forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we either step or float back. Lowering. Inhaling into our cobra or up dog. Exhaling into our down dog. Big breath in here. Exhale, softening those knees. We gaze forward as we step or float to the top. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, forward fold. Let's reverse. Reaching up, reaching back, opening up through the heart. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant, making our way to our down dog. So remember, you can always skip the vinyasa. And once you find that down dog, choose to stay here for a moment or maybe take a break in a different position. You can always come to child's pose or a seated position. Anywhere that you can go to just kind of check in with your breath. Slow it down if it started to speed up. Noticing maybe that you have more space now to start to lengthen the inhalation and the exhalation. And we're going to start to move into our main, I do two main sequences in my practice. So first sequence I call peanut butter. And then the second one is jelly. And then we bring them together at the end for a delicious sequence of peanut butter and jelly together. So with both sequences, we repeat them twice before we bring them together with a little bit more pacing. So know that at any time you can move at your own pace or you can opt out because we repeat. And the beautiful thing about repeating is that our bodies are so smart. They have such great muscle memory. So it starts to become more of a nice flow as we start to repeat that practice. But before we go there, take a moment just to come back to that affirmation of inhaling, I empower myself. Exhaling and inspire others. Nice. Once more, inhaling, I empower myself. Exhale and inspire others. All right, Lionel, it's time to move into the first main sequence, all right? So the first main sequence is very similar to our warm-up, which is nice, so we can move a little bit with a little bit more pacing in the beginning, and then we'll start to slow it down when things become new. So go ahead and make your way into your down dog. Excuse me, buddy. Thank you. And then from that down dog, we'll inhale, reaching the right leg up as we shift it forward into our one-legged plank pose. We can stay here, or maybe we reach that left arm forward. And then we can lower it down, bending that right leg as we move into our wild thing. Inhale. So this is where it changes. As you exhale, gaze towards the top of your mat. We're taking that big step forward, but we're going to sit into it, skandasana. So it can be a high skandasana, or it can be a low skandasana, or kind of in between, right? And you can stay here. Maybe you find some pulses. Maybe you prefer to move from side to side to kind of warm up in this space, which is kind of, I like to say it's a little bit gross the first time, right? Because it just doesn't feel quite right. But as we start to move through the practice and find this space, it becomes a little bit easier. We'll meet in skandasana towards the top of your mat. And we can stay here in an upright position. Maybe we find a twist or a bind. Maybe we walk our hands forward, breathing space to the lower back, just letting that head relax. Checking it out, how it feels in your body right now. Big breath in. Exhale. Nice. So from here, we're going to shift to the back, coming into crescent pose. So as we shift to the back, we pick up that right heel, moving into our crescent. So make sure your feet are nice and parallel. And you might find a little bit of a bounce here, just kind of easing into this first crescent pose of your practice. We're going to place our left hand onto our thigh, pushing down like we did in the warm-up as we lengthen through that right side. As we exhale, we're moving into our twist. So take that elbow to the outside of the knee. Hands can come to heart center, maybe gazing past that left shoulder as you come into your twist. Big breath in. And as you exhale, gaze towards the back of your mat. From here, we're going to lift up, bringing that right knee into our chest like one-legged mountain. And then we're going to twist to the side as we come into our dancing Shiva. So you could stay here. You could extend that leg. You might have your hand at the outside of the knee or the outside of the foot. So find a variation you like. I'm going to go with just this variation where I'm not holding on to the leg. Keep pushing into that left foot as you lengthen through the crown of the head on the inhale. Exhale, we're going to tip over into half moon. Now my blocks are at the top of my mat. I kind of wish they weren't right now. So you might have a block there for your left hand as you open up into this Ardha Chandrasana, flexing through the right foot, bringing your weight into the ball of the left foot. Full inhale. Nice, and then as you exhale, bring that right hand down. Right foot will meet left foot at the back of your mat, forward fold. And that's what we've got for our first main sequence, or our peanut butter for our first side. So from here, we'll roll it up. As soon as our head lifts, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. So you can always take a vinyasa here or skip it if that's not your jam today, or your jelly. So from that down dog, inhale, lifting up the left leg. We shift it forward for that one-legged plank. Maybe we come onto those right fingertips or reach the arm forward. And then that lowers down as we move into wild thing. So bending that leg, finding that heart opener here. Exhale, gaze towards your right hand. And we're going to take a step to the back of the mat as we sit into it, Skandasana. So option to go from side to side, hang out here, maybe with some pulses, or whatever else is calling your name. So I'm just going to hang out here. Feel free to do that with me, or you can move from side to side with a little bit more ease since we've already been here. And then we'll meet at the back of the mat. Maybe add on from this space if there's something that you want to take, like that twist or bind, or walking the hands forward, breathing into the lower back. Big breath in. Exhale. Nice. And then from here, we're going to shift it towards the top of the mat for crescent pose. So back heel lifts, arms reach up overhead, making sure those feet are nice and parallel. And again, maybe finding your little bounce here if that feels nice in the body. Sometimes it's nice to feel a little bit of movement instead of being static. From this space, we'll place our hand onto our thigh, press down as you lengthen through that left side body, and then as we exhale, we'll move into our twist here. So take that elbow to the outside of the knee, hands towards heart center, maybe gazing past the right shoulder. One more breath in. And then as you exhale, gaze towards the top of your mat. We're moving into that dancing Shiva, so it's like we're coming into one-legged mountain. Bringing that knee in towards our chest, twisting to the side. Same options as before, so I'm going to kick my leg forward, but you choose what works for your body right now. Big breath in, pushing into that foot, lengthening through the crown of the head. As we exhale, we'll tip it over for half moon. And this time I do have a block, see? So I can use my block there for my right hand as I open up. Inhale. On our exhale, bring that left hand down, bring the left foot down, forward fold. Nice work. And then we'll roll it all the way up. And we'll start to move through this with a little bit more pacing. So inhale, arms reach. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we make our way to down dog. So again, option to take a vinyasa if that sounds cool to you. If not, make your way to down dog however you like. Inhale, right leg lifts as we shift it forward into that one-legged plank pose. Maybe reach the left arm forward. And then we come into wild thing. Inhale. Exhale, gaze towards your left hand. Big step to the top of the mat. Sit into it, Skandasana. And now we shift to the back for crescent pose. Back heel lifts. Exhale, moving into that twist. If you like to press down, feel free, or you can move into it in any variation or way that you like. And then gaze towards the back of the mat. we're lifting ourselves up into that dancing Shiva, so we're twisting, maybe kicking that leg forward. And then we tip it over for half moon Ardha Chandrasana, opening up. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Let's roll it up. Arms reach up and back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. From that down dog, left leg lifts. We shift it forward into that one-legged plank. Maybe we reach that right arm forward. And then we move into wild thing. Inhale. Exhale, gaze towards your right hand. Step it towards there as we sit into Skandasana. We shift it towards the top of our mat. Crescent pose. And then we twist. Big breath in. Exhale, gaze it forward. Dancing Shiva. So knee draws in as we twist. And then we tip it over for half moon. Ooh, I almost tipped myself over. And then left hand and leg come down as we find that forward fold. You're doing amazing. Roll it up. Arms reach up and back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. From that down dog, right leg lifts. We come forward into that one-legged plank. Maybe reach the left arm forward. And then we move into wild thing. Gaze to the top of the mat. Step it forward as you sit into Skandasana. From here, we shift it to the back. Crescent pose. My mat is melting. Exhale, come into your twist. I mean, it is just everywhere. Gaze forward, moving into that dancing Shiva. We twist. And then we tip it over for half moon, opening up. And we meet in that forward fold. Nice. You're doing amazing. Let's roll it up. Arms reach up and back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. From our down dog, left leg will lift. We shift it forward into our one-legged plank, maybe reaching that right arm forward. And then coming into wild thing, we bend the left leg. We lift. Exhale, gaze towards the back of your mat, towards that right hand. We step it to the back, Skandasana. We shift it forward, crescent pose, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, we twist. Inhaling. Exhale, gaze forward, lifting up into our dancing Shiva. And then we tip it over, half moon. From here, we make our way to our forward fold and take a break here. Whew. Nice. So great time if you have a towel or a drink of water. You think I could let Lionel bring me a bottle of water or something? I don't think he'll be able to do it, but maybe you have some in front of you. But maybe make your way to the top of the mat, checking in with your body, maybe closing the eyes, slowing the breath down if it started to speed up. And that's what we've got for the peanut butter series. So next we'll be moving into our jelly main sequence. So slow down the breath, check in. Inhaling, I empower myself. Exhaling and inspire others. Again, breathing in, I empower myself. Exhale and inspire others. Okay, for our second sequence, we're gonna meet at the top of the mat, so we're coming into mountain pose. And we're gonna reach the arms up overhead as we draw that right knee in towards the chest, one-legged mountain. From here, we're moving into our figure four, our funky chair pose. So we're bringing that ankle above the knee as we sit back into our heel. You might reach those arms forward like you're driving a car here. Maybe you have your arms onto the leg. If you have blocks, they might be helpful to have underneath your hands to bring the floor closer to you. If you're feeling kind of spicy and you want to play around with an arm balance today, maybe if you have those blocks, you use them for flying pigeon. You can kind of tuck your leg into the armpits and play with teeter-tottering forward, maybe lifting up that back leg. Without the blocks, it's just the floor is a little bit further away, and you might tip, maybe lift up. If you have stabilities, you might start to straighten through that leg or play, just depending on how you're feeling today and what your practice is needing. Yeah, what do you think? What's your practice needing, buddy? All right. We'll take a couple breaths here as we inhale. Exhale. This is my sweat towel right here. One more breath in. Nice. So on our exhale, we're taking a step back for Sky Archer, which is just a reverse triangle pose. So we're stepping it back. Those right toes will face the curtain. We're going to reach for that left wrist, just leaning back as we breathe into that side body. Take a big inhale. And as you exhale, gaze towards your back foot. We're going to pivot all 10 toes. I'm going to bring a block with me before I do that, because I know it's happening next. So you might have to hop that back foot in. We're coming into our revolved triangle pose. So I like to have my block to the inside of that right foot, really lengthening through the crown of the head, and then twisting, maybe leading with that left elbow and shoulder, or maybe you find space to reach that arm up overhead. With each inhale, we find length through the crown of the head. Each exhale, belly button draws into the spine, maybe going a little bit deeper into your twist. Take one more breath in. And then as you exhale, gaze down. We're going to walk our hands over to the side. So our legs will be crossed. And we're going to come into cow face legs sitting down. So go Mukasana legs. You can always have a block underneath your seat if that's helpful. You can kind of find a wiggle into that space. And if that's not accessible, you can always just lift up this knee like we're coming into a seated twist. So listen to what your body needs today. No worries either way. Taking a big breath in here. Exhale, let it go. And then we're going to come into some side bends. So right arm is going to extend out to the side as we reach that left arm up and overhead, breathing space into the left side body. And then we're just going to switch it out. So left arm comes down, right arm comes up and overhead, breathing space into that right side body. Inhale. And then as you exhale, gaze towards your left hand. We're going to unravel our legs facing the back of our mat, coming into pyramid pose. So it's a short stance. You can let your head relax here. Maybe you have a block or two blocks for your hands. Always makes it a little bit more accessible. An option is to stay in your pyramid pose. Maybe this is feeling good in your practice right now. Otherwise, maybe you play with lifting up that left leg, coming into a standing split. And you could always add on from here, just depending on how spicy you're feeling today. So you could always play with one or both hands around that ankle. Maybe you play with some little hops here, just finding little kick-ups. Maybe you find some air time, maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. And then we'll meet in our forward fold at the back of our mat, which is the end of our sequence on our right side for that second main sequence, or our jelly sequence. So we'll go right into the left side. We're going to roll it up. Arms reach up overhead. Left knee draws into chest for one-legged mountain. And then we're moving into that funky chair or that figure four shape. So bringing the ankle above the knee. We can reach those arms out like we're driving a car. Arms can come onto our leg. Yeah, if you like those blocks, they're gonna have to travel with you, right? So, or maybe you just keep the one block and find a forward fold here. If you're playing with the arm balance, maybe go right into that. With or without blocks, can play with, the flying pigeon pose, just wherever you want to go today. Or make this to where you stay in this funky chair pose. It's a great hip opener. Take one more big breath in. And then as we exhale, we're stepping it back for that sky archer. So left toes will face towards the side of the mat, right toes face the back, and we reach for that right wrist as we lean into it. Big breath in here. And then as we exhale, gaze towards your back heel. We're going to pivot all 10 toes towards the front. I'm going to have my block there to the inside of my left foot because we're setting up for that revolved triangle pose, Parvata Trikonasana. So we're going to have that hand, or that right hand onto the block, lengthening through the crown of the head, leading with the shoulder and elbow. If you have that at the small of your back or at the sacrum, maybe you extend that arm. Each inhale, lengthening through the crown of the head. Each exhale, maybe going a little bit deeper into your twist. Take one more big breath in here. And then as you exhale, lower that hand down. We're going to walk our hands towards that long edge of the mat, moving into those cow face legs, those Gomukhasana legs. So using a block or a prop underneath you if that makes it more accessible or helpful. Finding that little wiggle from side to side. And then we're moving into those side body stretches. So left arm comes out to the side, right arm's gonna reach up overhead. Yes, I'm not mirroring you. You've known that for a while, I guess. And then we'll switch it out. So right arm comes down, left arm reaches up overhead, breathing space into the side body. As you exhale, gaze towards the top of your mat. We're unraveling those legs for pyramid pose. So it's a short stance here. And let your head relax once you find your spot. Knowing you can stay here, which is perfect. Maybe you have a block there. Maybe you come into your standing split from here, leading with drawing that right heel up. Maybe you play with those hops or testing the balance with bringing one or both hands around the ankle. So just finding something that works for you. Maybe finding a little air time if you're moving into those hops. Or not. That's not working for me today. It's fine. Eventually, we'll all come to our forward fold at the top of the mat. And we're going to start to pick up the pace on this. Remember, if I'm moving too fast for you, move at the pace of your breath. We're just going to meet in a forward fold facing the other direction. And what's most important is that you move at the pace of your breath. So we're going to roll it up. Arms reach up overhead. Right knee draws into chest for one-legged mountain. And then we move into that funky chair pose. Big breath in here. As we exhale, step it back. Sky Archer, reaching for that left wrist as you lean towards the back. Exhale brings your gaze towards your back foot. Pivot all 10 toes to the back of your mat. Moving into our revolved triangle pose. So maybe you have that block there to the inside of the right foot. We twist. And then we walk our hands all the way to that long edge of the mat, crossing the legs as we come into Gomukhasana. Side body stretch, so right arm comes out, left arm comes over. And we switch it out, left arm down, right arm comes over. Gazing towards the back of the mat, we unravel into that pyramid pose or standing split. And we meet in our forward fold, Uttanasana. Let's roll it up, arms reach. Left knee draws into chest, figure four. Sit it back into that heel. Step the left leg back, Sky Archer, reaching for your right wrist. Exhale, gaze towards the top of your mat as we pivot all 10 toes, setting up for that revolved triangle pose. So maybe we have that block to the inside of the left foot as we twist. We bring that hand down as we walk towards that long edge of the mat, coming into our Gomukhasana legs. Side body stretch, right arm comes up overhead. We switch it out, left arm comes up overhead. We gaze to the top of our mat and we unravel to pyramid pose or wherever you like to go before coming into your forward fold. Let's roll it up. Arms reach, one-legged mountain, right knee to chest. Exhale into that funky chair pose or figure four. Step it back, Sky Archer, reaching for the left wrist. Gaze to the back. We pivot all 10 toes. Revolve triangle pose. So left hand to the inside of that foot, maybe on a block as we twist. And then right hand comes down. We walk it over to the long edge of the mat, coming into our cow face legs. Reaching out, left arm comes over. And then right arm comes overhead. Gaze to the back. We unravel for pyramid pose or standing split. And then we meet in forward fold. Let's roll it up. Arms reach. One-legged mountain, left knee comes in. And we bring it into our funky chair. Sit it back into that right heel. We step the left leg back, sky archer, reaching for the right wrist. And then we gaze to the back foot as we pivot all 10 toes towards the front for revolved triangle pose. So right hand to the inside of that left foot, left arm reaches. We bring that hand down as we walk towards that long into mat, crossing the legs, moving into our cow face seat. Right arm comes up overhead for that side body stretch. And then left arm comes overhead for that side body stretch. We then gaze to the top of the mat, unraveling for our pyramid pose. Taking a big breath in here, or here. And then we meet in our forward fold. How you doing? Doing good? You're doing great. So use this time to take a moment to just check in with your breath, towel off. Lionel still hasn't brought me any water to drink, but you know, he's cute, so it's all good. We're coming to my favorite part of the practice, peanut butter and jelly. It's peanut butter and jelly time. So we're bringing both of those sequences together for one final sequence. So before we go there, take a moment just to close the eyes. Let all you've done settle into your body. Maybe place a big smile on your face, because when we smile, our cells know that we're happy, or now we are happy because our cells know that we're happy because of that smile. Either way you want to think about it. And let's tap back into our affirmation of I empower myself and inspire others. I empower myself and inspire others. All right, you've got this. We're going to meet in down dog, because I just remembered we don't meet in mountain pose. So however you want to get there, if you want to float there, I'm just gonna step back into it personally. So we'll meet in that space. And from our down dog, go ahead and inhale, reaching the right leg up. We'll shift it forward into our one-legged plank pose, maybe reaching that left arm forward. And bringing it down if we did, as we move into wild thing. Inhale. Exhale, gaze towards your left hand. Step it all the way to the top of the mat as we sit into it, Skandasana. We're shifting to the back, moving into that crescent pose, so back heel lifts. And then we twist, right elbow to the outside of that left knee. Gaze towards the back of your mat. We're moving into dancing Shiva, so right knee draws in, and we twist, finding our variation. And then we tip it over for half moon. Oh, look, I have my block finally. All right, so this is where we bring in the second sequence. So we're bringing that knee in towards our chest to move into that figure four. So it's okay if it feels wobbly. Yeah, you're like, I know. So we're sitting back into that left heel, and then we're moving into sky archer. Just gonna face the other direction, which is totally fine. We're gonna reach the left wrist, lean it towards the back, or the top of your mat, I'm sorry. And then as you exhale, gaze towards your back foot. We're gonna pivot all 10 toes as we move into our revolved triangle pose. From here, right hand lowers down, and we go to the opposite long edge of the mat. So we're gonna face the right side as we come into Gomukhasana. And then right arm comes out to the side, left arm reaches over. Left arm comes down as right arm reaches over for that side body stretch here. And then gaze towards the top of your mat. Unravel for pyramid pose. Or maybe you're moving into that standing split. Either way, we meet in our forward fold, which means the first side is done. Yay. All right, make your way to down dog, however you like. One more side, you've got this all day long. So from that down dog, left leg lifts as we shift it forward into that one-legged plank. Maybe bring that right arm forward. And then we move into wild thing. Inhale. Exhale, gaze to the top of your mat. Big step forward with the left foot as we sit into Skandasana. From our Skandasana, we shift to the back, moving into crescent pose, so back heel is lifted. And then we twist, bring that left elbow to the outside of that right leg, inhaling. Exhale, gaze down. We're coming into dancing Shiva, so bring that left knee in as you twist. You can extend that leg. And then we can tip ourselves over, coming into our half moon. Here's that funky transition where we bring that knee in towards our chest and we come into our figure four. So bringing that ankle above the knee. It's okay if it's wobbly. Try to work that weight back into the heel right away. And then we're stepping it back for that sky archer. So we'll reach for the right wrist as we lean towards the top of the mat. Exhale, gaze towards your back foot. We'll pivot all 10 toes as we move into our revolved triangle pose. So right hand to the inside of that left foot, left arm reaches up. And then we're walking it towards the familiar long edge of the mat. So we move into those Gomukhasana legs. Side body stretch, so right arm reaches up overhead. Hey, Bubba. And then left arm reaches up overhead. And then we gaze to the top of the mat, or we gaze towards our linel. We'll unravel into our pyramid pose, or standing split. Either way, we find our way to our forward fold, which means you did it. Yay! You did amazing. So find your way into your forward fold, or maybe come into your mountain pose. Whatever is calling your name, just kind of sit there for a moment, just breathing into all the space that you created. You truly did empower yourself and inspire others. I'm inspired that you've gotten this far for sure. That was no easy task, my friends. So take a big breath in here. Exhale. I'm going to come into Malasana from here, getting a nice little hip opener outside of that funky chair pose. So it's a nice wide stance, bringing the heels in, toes out, and sitting into that. You can always bring in a block if that's helpful as a little seat. I like to say if you have 2 blocks that you place underneath yourself, you create a throne. So if you want a throne, also great. But just take a moment to bring those elbows to where they open up the hips. You might bring your gaze up, so if you feel like you might be hunching forward a little bit. And if you want to stretch in the wrists, maybe bring the tops of the hands together. Fingers can face down. And just sit into this space, opening the lower back at the same time as the hips and the ankles. And put a smile on your face because you have done amazing, truly amazing. Take one more breath in. As we exhale, we'll make our way to our seat, which is always an interesting transition because it kind of feels like you're falling, but it's not very far. So all good. So as you come onto your seat, go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together, letting those knees open up to the sides, coming into our Baddha Konasana, our butterfly pose. And just depending on how open your hips feel, you'll know because the knees are going to let you know. If they're up pretty high, maybe you make more of a diamond shape by bringing those feet further forward. If you're feeling pretty good, though, you can have them close into your body. And then maybe you have blocks there as you reach your arms forward. Or if the heels are in close to your body, you might take the more traditional version where you interlace the fingers around the feet, opening up the feet like they're a book with a bunch of messed up mat in my situation. And you can use your elbows to kind of bring those legs down as you shift forward, bring that chest forward, and then just letting your head relax, breathing space here. Breathing space into a place where you created all this heat from your practice. Take one more big breath in. Exhale. And then we'll make our way upright. We'll bring the knees together so soles of the feet are going to come onto the mat. Maybe you have blocks nearby in case you want to utilize them, because we're going to make our way into a reclined space so arms can reach forward, chin draws into chest as we start to slowly lower onto our backs, one vertebra at a time. And as you come onto your back, maybe you have some closing poses that you want to incorporate. If you're not sure, maybe you widen your stance and just kind of windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Nice time to just check in to see whatever else you may need to feel complete in your practice. So if you like to come into a reclined twist, that's perfect. If you want to come into a reclined inversion or a supported one, you might have a block underneath your sacrum or 2 blocks. Maybe you have a pup that's making out with you. I don't know. So you can come into legs up the wall by extending those legs up towards the ceiling. Maybe making some rotations with the ankles, or you could bring the legs together and make little circles going in one direction and the other. But feel free to do whatever else you need to feel complete in your practice. That is what is truly most important. Knowing that the next place we're going to come to all together will be our final pose of Shavasana, our final relaxation. So when you're ready, it is available to you. And I like to recommend taking up as much space on your mat as possible. So a really nice wide stance with the legs as you allow the feet to fall freely to the sides. Arms are down by your sides, palms facing up. And I like to encourage you to take up space on your mat because our practice is a reflection of our lives off the mat. So the idea is that if we take up space here, we take up space once we go out into the world. And as you come into your final pose, do one last scan of your body, starting with the crown of the head and moving all the way down to your toes, giving yourself permission to fully surrender, to fully let go, so that this feeling and all the benefits of the practice can sink in, which you deserve because you worked so hard to get here. And take a moment to have so much gratitude for yourself for showing up, so much gratitude for this feeling that you created through all this hard work. And be so proud of yourself because you did amazing. You are so amazing. Please know that I'm proud of you for making this commitment to yourself and your mat, which is never easy. We're always so busy, got so much going on. But we can take on all those hard things when we take care of ourselves. So know that I am so proud of you for showing up for yourself today. So now just let the breath be soft, the body be still, and absolutely no worries. Just be. Just be. Please feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you want. But if you're ready, you can start to bring in organic movements like wiggling your fingertips and your toes, reaching your arms up overhead, getting a nice full body stretch as you awaken to this new body. And then bringing the knees into your chest, give them a nice big hug as you roll to your side in your fetal-like pose, our pose for new beginnings. I empower myself and inspire others. Take this feeling with you as you leave the mat. That is when our true yoga begins. When you're ready, we'll meet in a seated position of choice. Hands can come to heart center in our Anjali Mudra as we tuck our chin under. And I want to thank you so very much for joining me on your mat today, for giving me this time to be your guide. It's always an honor. And until next time, my friends, see you. Namaste. Stinkers. Namaste from Lionel too. Bloop, 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 bloop. Thank you.